agitators burst into your church next Sunday, like they did City's Church in Minneapolis, does your church know how to respond? If not, you better learn quick, because churches are now a prime target for angry agitators. Now, most churches and pastors have no clue how to respond effectively, because this is brand new territory. Now, today, I'm going to give you a basic plan for how your church can respond shrewdly like Jesus. If you attend a Bible-believing church, it's just a matter of time. They're coming. Now, most everyone in America saw what happened at City's Church in Minnesota a week ago. A highly organized mob of professional agitators trespassed on private church property, harassed church members, and scared children during a worship service. Now, in Matthew chapter 10, Jesus commanded us to be as shrewd as snakes, but as innocent as doves. What does it look like to be shrewd in this instance? This is Brad Bright. Welcome to the God is the Issue podcast, where I show how God is the issue in every issue. Why? Because we can trace all our human problems to our view of God. Now, folks, if you find this podcast helpful, please remember to like and subscribe. And when subscribing, don't forget to click on the bell so you'll be notified whenever I post a new podcast. Now, one more thing. Please share this podcast with your pastor. During my political years, I organized public demonstrations, but always on public property, and we never screamed in anyone's face or harassed anyone. No one was paid. Times have changed. The Minnesota event was well planned. They knew what they were doing, and a sympathetic reporter was tipped off ahead of time. Now, I know that at least two of the leaders of that mob are paid professional agitators. I assume others were as well. The two identifiable operatives were Nekima Levy Armstrong and William Kelly. Now, Armstrong headed up the Wayfarer Foundation for 6 years. Under her leadership, the foundation gave away $700,000 in anti-poverty grants. All this while compensating her $1.1 million. I guess we know her priorities. Now, she's been involved with Black Lives Matter, Inc., and currently heads up the Racial Justice Institute, which organized the church incursion. Now, William Kelly, he's also a paid professional agitator. He has a history of disrupting worship services and getting arrested. He says the U.S. is an evil empire and has declared that a civil war has already begun. Now, his goal is not to fix America. His goal is to tear it down and turn it into North Korea. He's not a nice guy, and he loves using the F-bomb. So in light of that, if agitators invade your church, how do you respond shrewdly as Jesus commanded? Now, we must begin by asking, why did these agitators want to hijack a worship service? They wanted to create controversy so they could take over the news cycle narrative to raise their profile in order to advance their cause. And folks, most churches are easy, unsuspecting targets. Now, my focus today is about how a church as a whole can respond, not about how individuals should respond, other than those who specifically speak for the church. So let's get started. The moment agitators storm in, you must assume they have tipped off an ally in the media who will spin the story the way they want it spun. That's what the rabble in Minneapolis did. They tipped off Don Lemon ahead of time because they knew he would carry water for them. So folks, have someone prepared who can talk to the media as soon as they arrive. Remember, they want to use your church to drive their narrative. So you need to quickly replace their narrative with your counter narrative. So the moment the agitators start yelling and screaming, the pastor or whoever has the microphone should take a breath and then say, everybody stay calm. Worship leaders, please come forward. Please make sure your children are safe. The pastor has now established the counter narrative. The implication of the pastor's words are, these are dangerous people who might hurt your children. That's the lead counter narrative we want on the evening news. Now, if you don't like that counter narrative, come up with one of your own, but it has to be emotionally compelling for a TV audience. Whoever is running sound should immediately crank up the pastor's mic so his voice cuts through the chaos. This means that any video footage will carry the pastor's voice saying, don't harm the children, don't harm the children, don't harm the children. That's not a message the agitators want playing on the evening news. That's a terrible narrative for them. Then the pastor should address the protesters directly, saying, "We're simply here to worship Jesus. If you want to worship with us, you're welcome to stay. Otherwise, please don't hurt anyone. Please allow the children to leave safely. Jesus loves children. Please don't scream at the children. You're scaring the children. We don't want any children to get hurt. We don't want anyone to get hurt. Please allow the children to leave unharmed." You get the idea, right? See, if this footage leads the evening news, the agitators have just lost every soccer mom across the country. Being perceived as endangering children is a PR nightmare for any cause. Now, the pastor should keep on driving this narrative about not harming children until the worship team hits the gas. Then everyone should sing as loudly as possible while ignoring the temper tantrum throwing agitators. Now, the goal isn't merely to discourage the agitators and get them to leave. The bigger goal is to co-opt the narrative for the evening news and invite people to your church. Now, here are the pieces you need to have in place ahead of time. You need to have people designated to do these 4 tasks. First, someone should be prepared to talk with the media. Remember, there will be a reporter who shows up who is sympathetic to the cause of the agitators. Your media spokesman should make a beeline for him. Now, the spokesperson's narrative should basically be, I don't understand why these people think it's okay to scare children and disrespect God. What do they have against Jesus anyway? Folks, and we welcome anyone to join us in worshiping God. Now, please listen to me very, very carefully. If you make a mistake, this will be it. Never answer any question about the issue the agitators are trying to push. They frame their questions so you can't win. By the way, Jonathan Parnell, the lead pastor at City's Church in Minneapolis, did a good job of not letting Don Lemon bait him into answering his gotcha questions. He kept on steering his remarks back to issues of importance to him. He's clearly not a silver-tongued politician, but he demonstrated a good dose of common sense. Now, just as important as never answering gotcha questions is, never speculate about their goals, motivation, etc. Never. For instance, if someone asks, "Why do you think these protesters targeted your church?" your answer is always going to be, "I don't know." You'd have to ask them. But what I would like to know is why they're okay with scaring children and disrespecting God. You're right back on message. Now, if you speculate even once, I promise that is what will make the evening news. You just gave them exactly what they wanted. Never answer the questions. Force them to answer yours, and never speculate. They are not here to have a conversation. They're here to make headlines. Now, second, designate 2 people to call the police. We want redundancy in order to make sure this happens. That's why you have 2 people. Third, designate at least 6 people who will take out their phones and start recording, because visuals are more powerful than words. Now, 2 people should go down front to record the pastor. I say 2 people again because you want redundancy to make sure it happens. Then 2 people should get wide-angle video shots of the agitators as a group. And then 2 more people should zoom in on the most obnoxious agitators, especially screeching women like this whack job in Minneapolis. Folks, that's almost painful, isn't it? Make those unhinged, screeching women the face of the agitators. You want to cast them in the worst light possible, just like Jesus did with his opponents. Now, fourth, designate specific people to start praying immediately. When the enemy invades our space, if we intend to do serious battle, we better make sure we have people praying. So let me summarize those 4 action points. First, designate someone who can talk with the media. Second, designate someone to call the police. Third, designate at least 6 people to pull out their phones and start recording. And fourth, designate people to pray. Now then, as soon as the agitators leave, one more thing needs to happen immediately. All that video footage needs to be uploaded to a site where a video editor can begin pulling key footage and then immediately forward it to the local news media outlets so you can get ahead of the media narrative. Now, this footage should also include a sound bite from your pastor. Keep the sound bite short, no more than 20 seconds. Otherwise, it's not likely to make it onto the evening news. I say something like this: I don't know why these agitators think it's okay to invade a worship service, scare children, and disrespect God. For us, worship is a joyous celebration where we let God know how grateful we are for all he has done for us. I want to invite anyone in this community who wants to know more about God to come join us. That's it. Stop. If you do this, it will be the first and last time agitators ever target your church. They don't want to be portrayed as child abusers or God haters, and they definitely don't want to give you a bigger platform to talk about God. You see, God is the issue in every issue, even the issue of how to handle agitators. This is Brad Bright. Thanks for joining me today, and God bless.